Hölgyeim és uraim, egy kis kirándulásra invitáljuk Önöket. Vermontba megyünk, az Egyesült Államokba, Brattleboro városába. Egy olyan helyre, ahol a mai napig fából, fémből és bőrből fényképezőgépeket készítenek. Egy olyan korszakban, amikor könnyűszerrel, már számítógéppel digitális fényképeket is lehet készíteni. Arra vagyunk kíváncsiak, hogyan működik ez most, a 20. század vége felé, miért kell még mindig ilyen fényképezőgépekkel dolgozni, amikor már sokkal korszerűbb körülmények között is elő lehet állítani az állóképeket. Ladies and gentlemen, we're inviting you to a short trip to Brattleboro, Vermont, United States, to a place where people still make cameras out of wood, brass and leather in an age when it's so simple to take pictures in digital equipment in computers. We want to answer the questions why we still produce cameras in silver-based photography when it's so simple to take pictures in the computer. Yes.
Okay.
So I didn't see any cameras being assembled here. Why?
Okay, the reason for that is because this facility here, Zone 6, is a research, development, and an assembly plant. We don't store any finished goods here. We transfer everything. Since Zone 6 is owned by Calumet, we transfer all of our finished goods over to the Calumet warehouse as soon as we build them. The way we operate is, this is more just the technical side of the operation. Calumet actually purchases all the cameras from us, and we sell everything from Calumet's stock. So the reason being for this is because our product range is so wide, so it would be ridiculous to store all the finished goods here. We just basically physically don't have space for that. So since Calumet purchased Zone 6, we transferred everything over to Bensonville, which is more efficient than having two finished goods stock at two locations, at Zone 6 in Brattleboro and in Bensonville at Calumet.
How many cameras do you make a year?
I would say about 150, 200. It really depends on sales, but in that range. This includes all kind of woods. We have mahogany, black walnut, cherry. These are the most common woods in 4x5 format. At this point, the 8x10 format is in mahogany only. It is, of course, depends on the customer demand. So if there will be a customer demand for a black walnut 8x10 camera, of course we will build it. Our philosophy is market-led philosophy. So whatever the market needs, that's what we will design and manufacture.
Do you assemble these cameras on order, or you assemble them and then try to sell them?
No, we assemble everything on order. Everything on order. Because if we can't sell them, then why assemble them? We have many other things. We have a very strict 12-week production plan. And the base for that is the purchase orders. The purchase orders, of course, generated by the previous sales. So we know that in the last year we sold 200 cameras, just for example. So we exactly know that in this year we're probably gonna sell 200, hopefully more, but we're thinking in a 200 range. Then we divide it by 12, and that gives us the monthly camera assembly what we need. Of course, we have a cushion, about 3 months supply over at the warehouse, just in case if some item is selling very hot, then we have to do those first instead of working on cameras. This is exactly what's happening right now. Since we put a new product on the market, the Bestseller and Omega VC heads, those are extremely hot selling items at this point. So I had to pull everybody away from camera assembly and from a larger assembly, and everybody is working in electronics these days.
Mhm. Kicsit meg átállunk közben. Mondjál valamit, csak hogy egy-kettő, nem?
1, 2, 3.
Jó. Akkor most szeretnék egy ilyen, hogy úgy mondjam, hogy egy ilyen történeti, mi ez a Zone 6, aki soha nem hallott róla, az is tudja, hogy most hol vagyunk, mi ez a Zone 6, mikor alakult, miket csinál, miket gyárt.
Ezt gondolom, hogy inkább a Brooks kellene, hogy legyen, aki a fényképész oldaláról közelítené meg
Nem
ezt.
Nem,
Tudod, ő esetleg egy könnyebben...
A történetet ismered, hogy tehát, hogy kicsit... Jó. So, my question is, where are we now, and when did it start, and how did it all happen?
Okay. We're currently in Brattleboro, which is in Vermont. Vermont state is in the New England area of the United States, on the north eastern side. The largest city close to Vermont is Boston. New York is about, just to get some kind of idea, Boston is about 2 hours from here if you drive by car, and New York City itself is about 2.5, 3 hours. Of course, it depends on the speed you travel with. The reason why we're in this area is, first of all, is because the company was established here in 1972 by Fred Picker. Originally, it was established in Newfane. That's why we still use the Newfane address for catalog requests and for mail orders. About 8 years ago, we moved to a bigger facility, to Brattleboro, and this is where we currently are right now. What we have here is the research and development department, we have manufacturing, and we have sales. Fred established the company in Newfane, and what he started with were the cod lights. He was a very big fan of the new type of printing with cod lights, which is a totally different from the condenser. But I guess we'll talk about this later on. When he moved from Newfane to this location, he moved because the business was growing, and he physically needed more room to be able to produce all the photographic goods what we were carrying in the catalog at that time. Our future plans is, of course, this isn't the best location, up on the 4th floor, a manufacturing facility. So probably in the future, we'll move to a better countryside location, which hopefully will be a ground floor. Mm-hmm. However, as you can see, the view from these windows are beautiful, so we have to kind of compromise for some good and some bad things.
Mm-hmm. So how many years have you been in business, Zone 6?
Zone 6, since 1972.
Mm-hmm. How many cameras do you think Zone 6 have assembled in this time?
I really have to tell you that I don't know the exact answer for that. Brooks probably would know better these numbers. Since Zone 6 didn't started with the cameras, the Zone 6 cameras are available, if I remember right, about 10, 12 years ago, when Fred started producing the Zone 6 camera.
Mm-hmm. Jó. So yes, could you please tell us about the Zone 6 story? When cameras, why you're making them, and so on.
Mm-hmm. Well, originally, in terms of developing the 4x5 camera, probably 15 years ago, we sold a Vista camera that was made in Japan. It was very small and compact. It, in terms of durability, wasn't extremely well made, and I would say really its biggest shortcoming was in the bellows draw. Had very limited bellows draw. I think the longest focal length lens that you could put on it was, I'm not even sure, but I think it was a 150. I don't think you could get a 210 on it. Certainly adequate for going out and doing some field work, but in terms of being a versatile tool, it really just, it didn't make the grade. Fred sold those for a number of years, and in, I believe it was 1987, we decided to come up with an American version that was better made and had a little bit more range and versatility to the camera itself. Fred got together with Ron Wisner, who still continues to make a line of 4x5 cameras, and we worked with him for, I believe, 3 years. The camera itself that Ron produced for us had some shortcomings, and evidently there was a bit of a disagreement between Ron and Fred in terms of making changes and just giving the camera a little bit more range and ease of use. So Fred decided to go into business himself and incorporate the changes that he wanted to see in the camera. And the original model was produced for, I believe 2 years, at which point once again there was a redesign, and just kind of the fine-tunings of putting the camera that we're making today together. The big difference between the first ones that we made and the ones that this one that you see here is really in terms of the gold plating, the hardware. While many people look at the camera as being an aesthetically beautiful piece of equipment, it really wasn't the reason that we went to the gold plating. I mean, it really was in terms of keeping the hardware intact, the integrity of the hardware. The gold plating really makes sense. The original, all of the hardware on it was brass, and even if well maintained and polished on a regular basis, it's very prone to disintegration due to a number of reasons. Salt air, if you work anywhere on the coast and whatnot, it just corrodes the brass in no time. And originally they put lacquers and whatnot on the brass, but the lacquers really just don't hold up. The first attempt at going with the gold on the hardware was really just an electroplate, pretty thin layer of gold, and they found with use it simply would wear off. Gold's very malleable, and with a certain amount of use you'd be back down to the same problem, the brass being exposed. The gold now is, the plating on it, it's actually a very thick by all standards gold plating on the gold, and we still do get people that work the coasts and whatnot, and they'll call up and say, gee, my gold is corroding. And in fact what it is the fact that it is a brass base to them that's been gold plated. It still will pick up, because of the ions and whatnot, it will pick up salts, and they will form little deposits which people look at and go, oh, it's corroding. Gold, as everyone knows, doesn't corrode. Really a simple application of a good gold polish will clean it right up and bring it back to the original specs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what do we see in the picture?
Okay, what we have here is the current model of the 4x5 camera.
Wait a second.
Mm-hmm. Am I out of it a little bit? Or?
Yeah. Just move a bit
Move in a
closer.
little.
Yeah,
Sure.
like that. Okay, yeah. Inside again, please.
Oh, no problem. What we have here is the current model of the 4x5 field camera that we make. And what we mean by a field camera is that this is really designed to be utilized out of the studio. It's not to say that it won't function perfectly well in the studio. The big difference and problem with working with a studio camera is that they're generally a fixed monorail. And the monorail basically allows you to rack out your lens staging or the back of the camera itself. And this would accommodate the different focal lengths of the lens that you're using with. This camera, when you take the lens off, folds up into a very compact and portable unit.
What is it made of?
This is a mahogany. We make 3 different woods. We have cherry, black walnut, and mahogany.
And the brass?
The brass is brass, but it is gold plated for protection to the elements. As you can see, the camera becomes very portable. It's just very useful in terms of backpacking and getting off on the road with it.
What is the weight of this camera?
The camera weighs 6 pounds, which is fairly light. A lot of the metal cameras get to be pretty heavy, which is another reason that bear with me 1 minute. How does this one work?
Can I help you?
Well,
Be careful with the
Yep.
cord.
yeah. Now, where's the little lever on this one? They've, as I say, they changed these heads.
Wait. Yes.
Okay, what we have here is our 4x5 camera, and it's very easy to open. And there are detents on the side to lock it into a 90-degree position. There's also levels built into the back, and these are very useful in terms of photographing architectural work. It's very important that the back remain parallel. And by moving the front element, you're able to look at a building and keep the perspectives, all of the lines square. In terms of doing field work, it's really not all that necessary, but it is nice to be able to know where you are. To open it, very simple mechanism. And to install the lens, it just clips in the front, and outside of focusing, you're really ready to shoot.
What is the longest and the shortest focal distance, focal length of the lens you can use?
With this camera, with the standard bellows, the shortest focal length lens you can use is a 90 millimeter. However, with the 90, because the bellows are so compressed, you don't have much in terms of mobility, in terms of movement of the lens. We do recommend with the 90 to get a bag bellows, which will compress much more. It doesn't have the accordion, so the bellows doesn't.
And the longest length?
The longest focal length lens that you can fit on this camera is a 355. The 360, you do have enough bellows draw, but the rear element is too large to fit through the opening on the lens board.
Yes. So how do you use a camera like this?
Well, in terms of working with it, it really is a very simple procedure. People look at these and their first response is, oh, it's an old-fashioned camera. No, these are in production today, and they're utilized by literally hundreds and thousands of photographers. This particular style is generally used for field work, and it's really a matter of focusing, and your focus is adjusted.
Yes. Say something this about focusing. I'll come closer and
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. In terms of your focusing, there's a front rail extension which will allow you to move your front focus, and there's also a rear extension. This would be if you're going to be using a long focal length lens. You need, well, as I said, with the 355, you're pretty much going the full 18 inches of bellows extension that the camera has. And it's really just a matter of looking through the back. There's a ground glass, which in daylight you would need to put a dark cloth over yourself so that you can see. The image is upside down and reversed, which throws some people off initially, but I find it actually very helpful in terms of composition because you're looking at the image somewhat abstractly. The composition of the image becomes much more apparent. By utilizing movements on the back, you're able to straighten out any perspective problems that you may have, as I was touching on earlier with the architectural photography. As long as your back is even, is level, whatever you're photographing, your vertical lines will retain their integrity.
Yeah, okay, I don't really want to go to... Yes.
Okay. In terms of focusing with this, by the controls that are built into the back, you're able to control your vertical and horizontal lines within the image. There is a front rise on the lens, which will allow you to basically compose your image vertically. Also on the back and on the front, you have a lateral shift, which will allow you to basically move without moving your tripod. You're basically, or your perspective, you're just shifting what you're actually seeing from left to right.
Questions. So, could you tell us about the history of Zone 6?
Certainly. The company actually was started by Fred Picker, and
When?
I believe it was 1972. And Fred was a man of vision. I believe he was in the construction business at the time, and he had a love of photography. And he thought, well, what would it take to start a mail order company? Really somewhat of a whim. And he bought in stock film and lenses and whatnot, really basic components to photography, and started a business in his garage. At very small profit margin, but he just wanted to see what kind of a response he could get and get a feel of the market. And, well, surprise, surprise, what he got started really started to work for him, to the point where he was able to get out of the construction business, and he moved up to Vermont here. The business originally started in White Plains, New York, and Fred had gone to the Putney School, which is just 8 miles north of here, as a teenager, and he always loved the area, so it was a good chance to get out of New York and come back to Vermont, where the pace is a little slower. And he continued working out of his garage in Dummerston for a number of years. And as the years went by, he began to see the need, and really the camera as I was saying earlier, was really kind of the stepping stone which took Fred from simply being a wholesaler into a development area. And Fred has always been a very meticulous photographer in his work and whatnot, and he had studied with Ansel Adams, working on the zone system. And Ansel's books are very technically oriented and somewhat hard to digest for a lot of people. And I think the beauty of what Fred has done initially was really to simplify what Ansel was saying so that the average layperson could, without spending months laboring over books, getting down, doing the tests, and getting out to work. And with the development of the original camera and the Zone 6 workshop, which is a book that Fred wrote, really outlining the zone system and what it means to you, the photographer, things really got started. And there were so many issues that I think that all photographers come across in their development and their growth. There are so many things that seem very obvious to the photographer that there was a need for a tool to simplify these things. I mean, photography, there are people that love to spend their time in the darkroom. I'm not one of those. It's not to say that I don't enjoy working in the darkroom, but I would much rather be out photographing. And because of some of the tools that Fred has developed, we've been able to really simplify all of those technical problems that people in the past have said, well, gee, why don't they just have a tool that does this job? And Fred really has, I believe, answered all of those questions. He's made things so much easier in terms of getting away from having to have an incredible amount of technical information that one has to keep going back to. By really simplifying the procedure, one can work and maintain a constant from which one always knows where he's erred, where he's made a mistake.
So, what is Zone 6 produced today? What do you wait a second.
Well, what we have done, as the years have gone by, the camera, after having gone out and being spec'd out and made by really someone else, we've developed a research and development department, built our own cameras. All of the woodworking is done right here in Brattleboro. The gentleman that does our woodworking is just a master craftsman, and I would put this up against anybody's work in terms of what's being produced. We have people that will actually buy a camera simply to put it on a tripod and put next to their fireplace for something to look at. We have come up with really a lot of products over the year. The cold light source, which in terms of printing black and white has always been touted as the best way to go. It's very easy to print with, and what I would think you would see in terms of the big difference between a cold light source and, let's say, the opposite end, a condenser head, is really maintaining the integrity of the highlights. Working with a cold light source, your highlights maintain all those subtle little nuances that are in there that, when used in a condenser head, simply get lost, and your highlights basically generally will go to white. Well, after getting the cold light into production, there's the problem of the inherent drift that is built into a cold light. It's basically a fluorescent tube. Fluorescent tubes are very susceptible to drift in response to electrical spikes and drops during exposure. If on the same electrical circuit you're on, the refrigerator kicks in, it draws more juice. Suddenly, although the timer is giving you the same amount of time of exposure, the output of the tube drops, so you'd get variances in terms of your actual exposure on the print. Also, they will drift due to heat buildup or loss. The longer you're working with the tube, it builds up heat and it burns brighter. If you leave the tube off for an extended period of time, it cools off and burns less bright. So there was always a problem in terms of getting consistent exposures out of a cold light. To try to make 100 prints that matched was virtually next to impossible. The original answer, what we came up with first, was a line stabilizer. Basically, it was an electrical stabilizer to stabilize any peaks or drops in your current, but it did still leave the problem of heat buildup and loss. Not to leave that undone, we've turned our minds to an answer, and working with Paul Horowitz, we have developed a compensating enlarging timer, which doesn't try to stabilize the head in any way. We found it to be much more accurate in that it actually monitors the amount of light that's produced in the light chamber and compensates the time accordingly, so that your actual printing times may be quite different. The end result is identical.
So, and what are the other products? So you're producing only cameras in this format or other formats?
We make the 4x5, and we also make an 8x10. We do also have a 4x5 reducing back for the 8x10, so that you can, in fact, work with just one camera if you so choose to do so. The obvious drawback in terms of working with an 8x10 camera is its weight and size. It's not quite as easy to go backpacking with 8x10 gear. Very easy to work out of the trunk of the car, go out into a field and whatnot, but if you're going on an extended hike, it's very large and it's very heavy. But we do have the option, as I say, of having a 4x5 back so that you can utilize that camera and work with both formats.
And tripods?
We also make tripods. This is the standard tripod. It's really used for the 4x5 format. We also make a heavy-duty tripod for the 8x10, and the weight on this tripod, I believe, is 9 pounds, and on the heavy duty, it's 16 pounds, to give you an idea as to the weight difference. We also have developed. We've also developed a modification for the Pentax 1 degree spot meters, the analog and the digital. And it's one of those questions that every photographer has in terms of why wasn't the original model really built so that it responds to film or to light the way film does. There are shortcomings in virtually all the meters that are made today, and they really pretty much are the same shortcomings. They're still being produced today. And it's not to say that these instruments will not work for you, it's just that they're not as accurate as they could be. The two biggest shortcomings would be in terms of concentrated ultraviolet light, which your meter will take into consideration, generally causing you, depending upon the altitude that you're shooting at, you can actually overexpose your images by 2.5 stops. Another shortcoming is in areas where there's high concentrations of infrared, which is to say any place where you're dealing with foliage and sunlight. The meter, once again, if you you make your print, and in your mind that shade of green has a certain tone. Generally, when you make a print, you'll find that that shade of green is quite a bit darker. Once again, it's really due to the inaccuracies of the meter.
Now, Zone 6 also seemed to distribute a number of products aimed at fine art photography. Could you tell us something about that?
Yes, we also make a complete line of archival print washers, film washers, camera accessories, camera bags, boy, I have to think for a minute.
Yeah, it's okay. What I just have in mind in asking you is that Zone 6 seemed to be aiming at fine art photography. What is the importance of fine art photography in an age when you have digital and whatever you want?
Well, excuse me, we're very much firm believers that the silver image will prevail. In today's digital imagery and whatnot, we're just looking at the tip of the iceberg. The resolution isn't quite the resolution, obviously, that you'd get with silver, although I have no doubt that that will be addressed in the very near future. Looking at what they've done with electronics in the last 10 years, I have no question that they'll be artists in terms of working with digital imagery, much the same as in terms of working with silver. I have no question about that. My own belief is that in terms of working with silver, there's a much more hands-on approach to developing the image. There is still the integrity of the image taken. With digital imagery, you are really able to manipulate an image in so many ways that it's an art form unto itself. I believe, and we all here at Zone 6 believe, that in terms of working what we call the purest view, black and white silver images will maintain a value and a beauty that I just don't feel will be put by the wayside.
Good, thanks. Now, just so you're a photographer yourself, aren't you? You work with a Zone 6. I would assume. Sorry.
I work with really a lot of equipment.
Yeah. Could you demonstrate a bit how it works? Yeah, we need.
Actually, we might be able to do that without the dark block.
Just comment on what you're doing.
Okay. Oh, you're all set over there?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me get it set in the middle position here. Okay, I'm going to photograph the church steeples out here. Laszlo has just showed you on the video. And to my eye, I see it as a vertical. So I have set the back in the vertical position. It's really a simple matter of a couple of clips on the top to shift from the vertical to the horizontal position. It's crucial, as I say, when photographing buildings where you have vertical lines, if you want them to retain their integrity and keeping everything at 90 degrees, as it were, to get the steeple in the top of the steeples over there, as I look in the image, I'm only getting about half of the steeple in the foreground in the image. And I would like to get the whole steeple in. By utilizing the levels on the back, both horizontal and vertical, it ensures that everything maintains its squareness. With a normal camera, to get the entire steeple in, I would have to tilt the camera up. Now, as I do that, the verticals start to converge. They no longer maintain their 90 degrees to the ground visually. So, working with one of these cameras, by keeping the back square, I'm keeping all of my lines square. To get the top of the steeple in, it's a simple matter of rising the lens itself into a position where I get everything that I want in the image, get the foreground out, and everything maintains its squareness.
Yeah, I want to show this from... Yes.
Okay. To raise it is a simple matter of loosening the lens board assembly and tightening it in with the screws.
Mm-hmm. Good. Go on, explaining it.
Well, what more would you like me to say?
Yeah, then you take the film, and we don't have...
Oh, okay. Do you want to get a shot of the back looking in so that we see visually what's going on?
I will at the end, but I just
Okay.
don't want to interrupt the take now.
Okay. Once we've established the image that we're looking for, you want to hold on one moment? I'll get a
You can use the Polaroid.
Polaroid bag, yeah. To insert the film, there's an easy opening bail which lifts the film plane so that it's an easy insertion of putting the Polaroid back in. It's a matter of closing down the lens, cocking the shutter, and making the exposure. With the Polaroid back, it allows you to use single sheets of film. You simply put them in the back. There's a paper binder on the outside of the film. You lift it out, make the exposure, put the film back in, take the back off. And then there's a mode in terms of processing where you just pull the film out and 60 seconds later you have an image.
Okay. Yes.
Would you like me to
Could
move
you
it?
now lower the front? Yes. And now
Bring it back up again?
bring it back. Yeah. Good. I start. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. This is our latest development. It is our own enlarger. It's a Zone 6 enlarger. And what we see on the head for a light source is a 5x7 cold light source. Let me just leave this up here. As you can see, it's quite oversized. The area of illumination on it is actually 6x10. And it's as far as I know, the only...
Wait.
Yep.
I tell you when.
Mm-hmm.
Now.
Okay, what we have here is our latest introduction to the photographic supplies. It's a Zone 6 and larger. And we have actually had the first version of this in production for 2.5 years. We have just, due to some electronic breakthroughs that have come about in the last year, redesigned the electronics. What we have on the head here at this point is a 5x7 head. And as you can see, it's quite a bit bigger in terms of the area of illumination. We have a 6x10 area of illumination on it. This is strictly a black and white head. This particular head is a variable contrast head. And by controlling the amount...
Wait. Yeah.
By controlling the amount of blue, that's strictly with blue, or the amount of green light that is mixed in the chamber, you have a full range of contrast from 1/2 to about a 4.5 without any filtration and still keeping all of the attributes of a cold light source in terms of printing. You can, simply by working with... Do you want to go to light now so that we can...
Say it again?
Do you want to go to having light in here so that we can look
Yes.
at this? Let me just get that up. By working with the control box and...
I'll switch it off because it was okay. Yes, go on.
Okay. By working with the control box, on our head you have individual control over each of the tubes. As I said, in terms of making an individual exposure, you have an infinite range from 1/2 to a 4.5. You're not relegated to what a filter will give you, which is let's say a grade 2, a grade 2.5, a grade 3. You can't fine-tune in between those grades as given by the filter. By adjusting the amount of the output of each of the tubes, you have that infinite range. Another process that is being utilized a lot today with a variable contrast paper is a process called split printing. And with split printing, you'd be making your first exposure with the blue tube, strictly the blue tube. And the procedure would be to make a test strip of the negative you're working with just the blue tube, doing 3-second increments across the sheet of paper. And in the first strip, where you just see the outline of your lowest values, your middle tones and your highlights really are pretty much non-existent in the image. You can establish your low values, then taking a second piece of paper, exposing the entire negative at the value you determined with the blue light, let's say 6 seconds, 2 3-second exposures, then exposing that second sheet, which you've exposed to the 6-second exposure of blue light, turning the blue light off and going to the green light and doing another test strip in 3-second increments on top of that pre-exposed value. Somewhere in there you'll find an image that will be close to what you're looking for. You can, if you want to strengthen your lower values, get a richer black in there, it would be a simple matter of, on your first exposure, adding a little more blue. And by doing this procedure, you're really not relegating yourself in terms of the print to any given grade or increment thereof. You really can have a nice grade 4 in terms of your low values and still maintain the integrity of your highlights. Let's say if you've got some nice fluffy clouds in there and you want them at a grade 1.5, you can do that by utilizing this process of split printing.
Okay. Thank you. How long does it take to assemble a camera like this?
We do it in batches, and a batch of 10 is around 4 days.
And how many parts are there in one camera, do you know?
Oh, 132.
132?
Yeah.
Wood and brass?
Wood and brass, yes, of course. The wood and the hardware. Yeah.
And how many people work here in the plant, and how many outside workers do you cooperate with?
In this particular spot at Zone 6 Studio, at this base, it is 9 total. This includes the shipping, the general manager, purchasing, and assembly, sales. As I'm sure you know that Zone 6 is owned by Calumet. So we have salespeople over at Calumet selling Zone 6 products as well. It's pretty hard to predict the numbers at this point.
And the people who supply the parts?
The suppliers, we have a list. I'm just guessing about 300, 350 for all Zone 6 products, not just for the camera. That includes all the...
Akkor váltsunk magyarra egy picit, egy kicsit egy személyes történetet szeretnék tényleg arról nagyon röviden, hogy te hogyan került ide?
Konkrétan a Zone 6 Studioshoz úgy kerültem, hogy a megelőző gyakorlatom alapján én szintén a fényképészeti területen...
Hány óta lakszik?
Én lassan 8 éve élek az Egyesült Államokban, és szinte az első naptól, mióta ide költöztünk, a fényképészeti bizniszben dolgozom. 8 évvel ezelőtt egy kezdő biznisznek voltam a mérnöke, ahol szinte semmiből építettünk föl egy céget, szó szerint 2 székünk volt és egy íróasztalunk. 2 évvel később egy 12 ember foglalkoztató műhelyben szereltük össze a tervezett fényképészeti eszközöket. Ez a cég még mindig bizniszben van. Körülbelül, hát egészen pontosan 2 évvel ezelőtt kerültem a Zone 6-hez egy kicsit más környezetet, több lehetőséget keresve, és azt hiszem, hogy megtaláltam itt.
Köszönöm. Akkor ez azt jelenti, hogy 1016 gép készült eddig, nagy valószínűséggel elmondhatjuk, hogy a 4x5-ból, vagy ez folyamatosan megy? És
Ez szám sorozat alatt futnak.
Tehát akkor több készült, mint 1016. Melyik a legszebb?
A Black Walnut. Természetesen ez a kamera, ami most éppen itt, de ez egy régebbi kamera, ez legalább egy 4-5 éves kamera. Ezt onnan lehet nagyon érdekesen látni, hogy a fa, a cseresznye saját fényképeket előhívni és nagyítani.
Amatőr filmkészítő vagyok. starts like this.